This is a mini sermon for April 19th, 2020. I looked out my window yesterday to see kids down the street. They caught my eye because I saw a small child falling down. And then I saw an older child falling down. The first one was preschool, second one was school age. And I noticed that they were falling down one after the other, in older, younger, older, younger. And I noticed that the older one, well, the younger one too, they were just sort of dropping one shoulder and going over, rolling down the hill, just a little embankment. And they rolled maybe 2 or 3 times, got back up, and then went up to the top and did it again. And it reminded me of myself when I was a child, and we would roll down hills, arms tight together, and rolling down so that you'd get a little dizzy, stand up, maybe move around before you could walk a straight line up the hill again. And I just thought, it was lower tech. There weren't video games, there weren't smartphones, there weren't computers when I was a kid. Those weren't even dreamed of. And here were these kids in a low-tech time for them playing this game. And I noticed too that there was winter weather just in the last few days, and everyone who walked by, families with their dogs, they were wearing winter coats, hats, scarves, gloves, boots sometimes, and they were keeping warm against the cold as they walked. So it felt like a wild world that this is April 15th, and yet we're having people out in winter weather. And the same day, I heard a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, who was talking about having gone to tracker school. This is tracking, like in the wilderness, tracking animals, that kind of thing, and learning survival skills. And part of their graduation was to go out into the wilderness with nothing but a knife. That was the only tool that they got to take with them. And no sleeping bags, no freeze-dried food, no canteen, none of the things that I would consider essential. Even a tent I would consider essential. And they were to go out with nothing but a knife. And they came back and they did well. Because they had learned the skills. And so then she made the connection between going out with only one tool when Jesus calls us to go out into the world. And I thought, the one tool has to be love. It has to be love. I want to hear about this. And it turns out it was wrong. The one tool was forgiveness. And so then I got to thinking about that quite a lot. And so I was thinking about forgiveness in this post-resurrection season, and I thought about Jesus and how Peter had betrayed Jesus not once but 3 times, and how Jesus forgave him. And then I thought about much harder was that Peter had to forgive himself, and so not only was he forgiven by Jesus, but he had to forgive himself for what he had done. And I thought about us. I thought about when have you forgiven someone that you were close to that had hurt you deeply? Can you think of a time? And then, I was thinking about how the stories I've heard 25 years ago, I remember hearing stories of deep resentment, deep betrayal in a family, and how a member of a family might not want to forgive, and what that would take. And then I thought about even greater is forgiving ourselves. I think in this time of COVID-19, sometimes families are coming together and they're forgiving in a way that brings them together again. They realize how precious life is, and so I see that now. And of course, we ask, do I deserve forgiveness? And a lot of people would say no, but we're in a time where we know that we can receive it, and then we know that we can give it as well. And so I was thinking about how resurrection can make forgiveness possible. We rise from dark, damp graves, graves full of rot, and we enter painfully into the light. We find ourselves alive, basking in the love of God, wearing bright raiment against all odds. God welcomes us into resurrection community. We see one another in the light and the love of God, and we are alive. So that's what I was thinking about yesterday. And then I want to read a story between a teacher and a student. And the student refers to the teacher as master because it's an old world story. And so the teacher says, "Master, how can I face isolation?" And the master says, "Clean your house thoroughly in every corner, even the ones you've never felt like, the courage and the patience to play. Make your house bright and well cared for. It removes dust, cobwebs, impurities, even the most hidden. Your house represents you," the teacher says. "If you take care of it, you also take care of yourself." And so the student then says, "Master, but the time is long. After taking care of me through my house, how can I live the isolation?" And the teacher says, "Fix what can be fixed and remove what you no longer need. Dedicate yourself to the patchwork. Embroider the starts of your pants. Sew well the frayed edges of your dresses. Restore a piece of furniture. Repair everything worth repairing. The rest, throw it away with gratitude and with the awareness that its cycle has ended. Fixing and removing outside of yourself allows you to fix or remove what's inside of you." And the student says, "Master, and then what? What can I do in all the alone time?" And the teacher says, "Sowing seeds, even a seed in a vase. Take care of a plant, water it every day, talk to it, give it a name. Remove the dry leaves and weeds that can suffocate it and steal precious vital energy. It is a way of caring for your inner seeds, your inner desires, intentions, your inner ideals." And the student says, "Master, and if the void comes to visit me, if fear of illness and death come?" The teacher says, "Talk to them. Prepare the table for them too. Reserve a place for each of your fears. Invite them to dinner with you and ask them why they came from so far to your house. What message do they want to bring you? What do they want to communicate to you?" The student says, "Master, I don't think I can do this." The teacher says, "It is not isolation your problem, but the fear of facing your inner dragons, those that you always wanted to get away from you. Now you can't run away. Look them in the eyes, listen to them, and you will discover that they put you against the wall. They've isolated you so that they can talk to you, like the seeds that can sprout only if they are alone." And so I've been thinking about how we can set a table for our fears. We can set a special place for each of these fears and then ask, what is it that you want to teach me? We can ask the difficulty all around us. What is it that you want to teach me? What can I learn? How can I make the world a better place? How can I give a gift to the world in the midst of these hardships, this isolation, these difficult times? And now I want to read from John 21, 13 through 18. And I'm thinking about how Peter, again, how he betrayed Jesus and how in his own mind he didn't ever deserve forgiveness. My friend that was at tracker school, the one item was a knife that they could take into the wilderness. And the one item that Jesus might give us is forgiveness. How powerful it is. And so I was thinking about post-resurrection times. We are given forgiveness, we receive it, and then we can give it to others. And how truly powerful this is. And so now listen to Jesus and Peter, again, the teacher and the student. Then Jesus took the bread and gave it to them. He did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus had shown himself alive to the disciples since being raised from the dead. Do you love me? After breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Master, you know I love you, Peter says. Jesus said, feed my lambs. He then asked a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Master, Peter said, you know I love you. Jesus said, shepherd my sheep. Then Jesus said it a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was upset that he asked for the third time, do you love me? So he answered, Master, you know everything there is to know. You've got to know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. So we receive forgiveness and then we can give it. This is a powerful gift. May God grant us blessings. Amen.